Hello everybody, I'm Johnny Christ and you're listening to Drinks with Johnny. Today we continue part 2 of my chat with punk rock legend Mr. Joe Escalante of the Vandals. We cover how the band got Josh Freese to join them, Disneyland, Fat Mike at summer camp, Warren Fitzgerald, and his champagne bottle trick, and much, much more. So without further ado, I bring you Joe Escalante, part 2. All right, so let's get back to the Vandals saga, if you will. You got your...
Yeah, so we're about to get Josh Freese.
Yeah, and where did you guys meet Josh Freese? I know a little bit about this. It kind of goes back to growing up in Southern California, right?
Yeah, we were living... Quackenbush and I were living in Old World Village, the Old World Beach.
Which is still there. It still has
still
Oktoberfest.
It can't go
Oktoberfest is happening right now, as a matter of fact.
I went to Oktoberfest Big Bear last Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, up in the mountains, where the real Germans are.
Yeah, that's where they are. Not in Germany, in Big Bear.
This is like, it was just war criminals in hiding up there. So we had annual passes to Disneyland in 1980, 88, 89.
Okay.
We had annual passes, which cost, back then, with no blackout dates or anything, $125.
Dude, that's less than like the rate if you just go in for the day.
For one day. That's less than one day now.
That's fucking insane. I just got like annual, because my son's 2, obviously.
Right, now you gotta have one.
I gotta have an annual pass.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't even want to say how much I spent on that shit.
Yeah, $125. And for us, it was a lot of money. I go, you want to do this, Dave? And we'll just go there. And we were like maybe a place to pick up chicks. It turned out it wasn't, because all the chicks are with their parents,
Yeah.
And
well, at that point,
they don't know their phone numbers.
That's dirty, man. I dig that. I dig that one right there. That's a solid one.
So we would go. What we do basically? It's not like we were like, "Hey, let's go to Disneyland," and then what to do? I mean, we're like, we'll cruise down there. We'll go on a couple rides. Check out the chicks and the bands, and then we'll head up the 5 to LA.
Yeah.
And go be, some punk show. So that's what we were doing.
Yeah,
and
that was the day in the life.
Yeah. And I was at that point, I'm in between college and law school working as substitute teacher in the Long Beach district. So I still run into a lot of people that are like, hey, you were my substitute one day. But we were...
Wait.
Yeah.
You were a substitute teacher?
Yeah, in between college and law school, I got to make some money.
Yeah.
The Vandals and substitute teaching.
That was 2 jobs.
Well, being the Vandals not a job.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that.
Then,
but I mean, what were you substitute teaching? What grade?
I started out in junior high, and then I just went mostly high school. Just a lot of special ed, and then I got a permanent job at Long Beach Poly doing English.
Oh, wow.
And I was the debate coach.
So then you were actually using that Norse while you were teaching English.
No, okay. Long Beach Poly.
Oh, I tried something there. No.
I had one class of Bible as literature. In those days, at a public school, they could teach Bible as literature.
Okay.
I bet they probably can't do that anymore.
I don't think that works that way anymore.
So I'm doing that, and we're going to Disneyland, and then we see the band pop out of the Tomorrowland stage called Polo. I mean, this is just hilarious to me. They're playing, it's kids, 12 to 15 years old about, and they're playing new covers. Huey Lewis and the News and Michael Jackson.
Fantastic.
Maybe some Billy Idol when they get really edgy.
Yeah.
And, 2 drummers and these little kids, and they're super talented because it's just Disneyland quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got groupies, and we became groupies.
Yeah.
All right, let's go do this and make sure, like, Polo's playing at, 4:15.
It becomes it started out as like, I'm just going to check this out kind of as a joke, and then next thing you know, you're actually intrigued by this.
Watching it and hoping to meet them. What? It's kind of the definition of a groupie.
Yeah, no, you nailed it.
So we saw, and I've told this story a million times, but it's still good, I think. We think this drummer is so good. They got a rock drummer, then they got a new wave drummer, which is brilliant. Rock drummer, fully just acoustic, big kick drum.
And what's a new wave drummer? Just
electronic drums.
Okay. Something like this.
Just like that thing. And he wears The other guy's like full rock and roll outfit, like maybe a leather vest. And then the new wave guy is wearing he's got like a mullet, poodle top hairdo, a blazer, a necktie, but no shirt.
Oh.
Think about that.
Wow.
Put that image in your mind. And so, but we're just mainly concentrating on the rock guy because we're a punk band. So we're watching the guy, and we're watching him over and over. We're like, we need a drummer. Just fantasizing. Can you imagine what we could do with that guy? But we never thought it could.
And
come true.
you said like they're like 12-year-olds in this band too. How old was Josh at this time? When you're watching?
Josh at this time is 15.
Okay.
And he played there from the age of 12 to 16 or so about. And then we go on our merry ways trying to figure out what we're going to do about a drummer. And we have an interim drummer who's a good friend of ours named Chris Lagerborg. He passed away. He's just a super guy. Yeah. But he knew he was the interim drummer. We were still looking. And it's like when a coach, gets fired and they bring in the
they bring the guy and they're like, hey,
yeah,
hold down the fort.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly. So someone tells us that drummer from Polo is in a band called like Bitch Funky Sex Machine.
Fantastic.
Or Twisto Frumpkin. I can't even remember which of these bands it was.
I don't know which one I like better.
Yeah, they were about these seeds.
If neither one of those is actually the name of the band, someone needs to make one of those bands.
No, it's one of the two. It's one of the two. And then so someone says that guy from the band is in that band, and we're like, wait, that band like opens for us, so he could be in our band.
Yeah.
So we
reach out to
Dave and Warren. Because Warren joins the band. I didn't really get into that.
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll circle back. We'll Quentin Tarantino this.
All right. So Warren's in the band, and he and Dave go to see the band Twisto Frumpkin, Bitch Funky Sex Machine. I can't remember which one it was. that Josh is playing awesome. It. Yeah. So he goes and sees him and corners him.
Yeah.
They both do. And to try to get this guy to play in the Vandals.
Before we go, I could just imagine. So I've only met you guys since 2003, and you're saying this is back in 88, 89.
Yeah.
I know Warren, I know Dave, I know you, I know Josh. I can only imagine 15, 16-year-old Josh being cornered by...
Yeah.
How old is Dave and Warren at this time? Like what, 20s?
Yeah, in the mid-20s.
I mean, I kind of feel for Josh at this point.
Yeah. So we didn't know what to expect. So they go find him, and they come back. I got good news and I got bad news. I'm like, how did it go? Dave and I live in Old World together. We're roommates in Old World. Mm-hmm. And I go, how did it go? What did he say? And he goes, well, the good news is he's willing to play on our record, because we had a record that was about to be produced by Bob Casale from Devo.
Oh, wow.
So this is Fear of a Punk Planet. It was a coup because we got a member of you got a real recording budget.
Yeah.
Like one of these guys in Devo needs some money for producing a record. And it turned out to be Bob Casale.
There you go.
I asked Mark Mothersbaugh. I met him at an art gallery. Where he had his art. You can corner a guy at an art gallery if he's the artist.
Yeah.
Will you reproduce our record? No, but Bob Casale will. So Bob Casale is producing our record.
Cool.
And so that was the enticing thing. He said, yes, he'll play on our record. I go, well, what's the bad news? The bad news, it's not the rock guy, it's Electronic Boy.
That's fantastic. It's Electronic, the one you weren't looking at all. Not paid attention to.
The one we were mocking.
The one with
furiously.
The one with the tie without the shirt.
Yeah, the tie and the blazer without the shirt and the mullet, the poodle thing. That's the new drummer of the Vandals.
But no, you're bummed out about it, but not bummed out about it enough to go, well, we don't want him.
No, it wasn't a deal breaker, but it was of concern. I go, okay, well, all right, let's get him.
You're over. Like, I haven't really listened to him. I've been listening to the rock guy the whole time. Is he actually any good?
No, I knew the guy was good. Okay. But it was just like...
I mean, everyone knows Josh is fucking good, if you've ever heard him play.
He was better than the other guy, but you didn't notice because you're punk and you're like, well, that's a different world. That guy's from another planet.
And how could he possibly play punk rock?
Yeah, exactly. So we were just... Okay, let's get him over to practice. So his mom, Trish, drives him to practice, and we play with him. And he had some demo tapes to work off of, and then we play, and then with the interim drummer in the room, I had to watch the whole thing.
That's kind of cruel.
Yeah, it was cruel.
I don't know if I'd want if I want to be there when my replacements are gunning for the job.
At the end of the first rehearsal, his mom picks him up, drives him away, and we sit around and we're just like looking at each other. And I go, well, here's my prediction. I'm going to say for the rest of our lives, we're going to be running around looking for people to tell that we played in a band with this guy at one point in our lives. Yeah. And that's pretty much what we do.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that sounds like that was a little Nostradamus of you.
That's absolutely true. I said, I think this is what we're going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen to our band, because at that point I'd already been accepted to law school. I was turning my life around in a different direction. Making a record just for we didn't care. We're just making it for fun.
Yeah. And
then I go, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that we're all going to be running around telling people we were in a band with this guy at one point in our lives.
Yeah.
And I can't believe this 30 years later he's still in the friggin' band.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. Like,
but I'll tell you what it is.
Except for a couple times when you now borrow who
Brooks
is
Wackerman.
now our drummer.
Yes. Yeah.
When you borrow him,
Right. But he knows that he's warming up. He's keeping Josh's seat warm.
Exactly. He does know that, yeah.
But the band wasn't... Even when we got him, we thought we were kind of just making a record for fun. Big deal. I'm going to law school. We're all going, we got our paths. But that's the way the band always has stayed, where it's not a real band with an agenda to get to some level. It's just for friends. Like, you want to play the show? It's in like 3 months. Now shows are a year away. You probably know. And now it's like, do you want to, your agent saying, okay, we got to talk about 2020. And, but still, everybody's still doing it.
It's also, that's part of what's been fascinating to me for your guys' career in the Vandals. Growing up as a punk rock fan and just going through all the bands in Southern California. I was in middle school when I started getting into punk. Actually, you know what?
What is this middle school you're talking about? What's it called?
I went to Mesa View Middle School.
Where's that?
It's in Huntington Beach. It's off of Golden West and Slater.
Golden West.
It's actually where most of the guys in Avenged Sevenfold went through. A couple years before me. And I think, actually, I correct myself. It was actually 5th grade when I started listening to Rancid and NoFX, and that was my first introduction into punk rock.
It's so interesting to me because when I was in 5th grade, there was not even a thing called punk rock.
Yeah, no,
So it's fat. I don't know what I would have been like or whatever. So 5th grade, I was listening to, but I had an older brother that got into.
You had an older brother that gave you the Ramones record.
He gave me the Ramones record, right?
Yeah, my older brother gave me "And Now Come the Wolves," I believe. Oh no, "Let's Go," and "Out Come the Wolves" I found on my own. He gave me "Let's Go."
And that same brother took me to see David Bowie's Diamond Dogs tour in when I'm 11. So I was listening to that, like through him. David Bowie, Mott the Hoople.
That's awesome.
And Sparks.
I love Sparks.
Sparks. That was I'm in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade.
We went to. They did the Sparks as an orchestra.
Kimono My House in the orchestra?
Yeah.
At the Ace Theater?
Oh, yeah.
I was there.
You were there?
Yeah.
How the hell did we not see each other?
I don't know.
I was there with Brian.
And Morrissey was in our row. Did you? Maybe
they did a couple.
Nights.
They
did
multiple nights.
Yeah.
They did multiple nights. I just remember going in that theater. That was the first time I was ever in that theater, by the way. That gothic look was fucking gorgeous. But, that was an incredible thing.
The Vandals used to go into silent movies in that theater. That's how.
Really?
Yeah. No.
And on that note, I want to mention something else. It's October. Fall is here. Halloween is around the corner. It's my favorite time of year. And I'm in a good mood. So from now till November 1st, I'm giving you free shipping on all your Drinks with Johnny merch purchases. That's right. Head over to drinkswithjohnny.com and use promo code CHEERS to receive free shipping on all orders placed through Halloween. That's Drinks with Johnny at DRINKSWITHJOHNNY.com. Promo code CHEERS to receive free shipping on all your orders. The holidays are just around the corner and they always seem to come up faster than you realize it. So get ahead of them and head over to drinkswithjohnny.com and get your orders in now. Cheers.
All right. Is this my wife texting me, you think? Oh, because she saw my car in the garage.
Oh, so she came home and was like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Okay. So you don't actually communicate with your wife is what you're telling me.
Well, I'll tell you the truth, Johnny. I've been married 23 years. If someone's sending you a car to do a podcast, you don't tell your wife, because then she's like, wait, they're sending you a car?
Whoa. No, this is good wisdom for everyone listening. This is great wisdom.
Two things could happen. Number one, she might want to come with you. Because, there's a car. I don't want to get in the car. Let's get in the car.
Yeah.
And she's not going to have any fun here. You know, your wife is asleep.
Yeah.
Or number two, she could just worry. He's sending you a car. You're gonna drink that much, and then Well,
it's not about how much you drink. This is the reason why I do this, just so everyone knows. We're gonna do a little PSA right here, real quick. It's not about how much you're gonna drink here at Drinks with Johnny. It's about being smart about it, doing the right thing. Even if you're only gonna have a couple of drinks, which we probably only have a couple of drinks, maybe a little bit more, but the whole point of it is to be smart about it. It's not that hard just to get someone else to drive a DD of some kind. There's no reason to drive after more than maybe one drink, whatever it is.
Unless you think you can get away with it and save a couple of bucks.
That is the worst advice. That is the last thing you're supposed to do. This PSA brought to you by Joe Escalante. So, now that we got that out the way.
So we got Josh Freese, and now here we are
Freese.
today, 30 years later. It's the same band, and we're more of a men's club. So that's what I do now. All right, so where are we at?
So let's Tarantino. We already got into Josh joining the band. Let's go back to our good friend Warren, who played a guitar solo for us on our punk rock version of "Runaway" by Del Shannon.
I remember when he
did
did
you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And he's very lucky to have done that. I hope he appreciates it. I'm gonna eat a cracker right now.
No. We were lucky to have him. No. Honestly, we were lucky to have him. It was kind of perfect. The way that we had structured the song was very much an homage to a Vandals style of it. And when we were going for a guitar solo, Brian Sinister Gates was doing guitar solos, and he was just like, maybe we should ask Warren if he could come out and do it. And it worked out really great for us.
Very smart.
So how did Warren come into your life?
Okay, so we have Nils is our guitar player. He started the band. Mm-hmm. But he stops. He's going through some relationship stuff, and he stops coming to our tours. Basically, is to make a long story short. And our tours back then were like, you're going to play Tucson and Phoenix, and then you're going to come home. And that was a big deal for us, playing Tucson and Phoenix. And we had developed those towns. There's no strategy back then. There's no agent. There's no manager. But you're like, wow, we've really played Phoenix so many times. We're kind of getting big there. Tucson, we're getting big, and we have friends there. And the scene, we know it. And I don't want to romanticize Tucson too much, but picture this. Since we're talking Drinks with Johnny. We used to play this place called the Dewdrop Inn.
Dewdrop
No,
Inn, okay.
Stumble Inn. Sorry.
Stumbling.
Dewdrop Inn is like probably from the Golden Girls episode, 132 or something.
I mean, it must have fallen into your subconscious while you were watching it.
It might be the Waltons. But the Stumble Inn in Tucson.
Okay.
Used to mixed drinks when we played there, 65 cents. I mean, we're not too far from when, here's a nickel, give me a whiskey.
I mean, that's
Tucson.
That's fucking Deadwood style.
Yeah, it's Deadwood style. 65 cents on a regular night. It's like, how much is that? That's 65 cents, please.
And what year is this?
This is 1982.
Jesus fucking Christ. I was born in the wrong era.
65 cents. And there was a night at the Stumble Inn where it was, I think it was $5, drink all night.
You can't do that anymore. You just can't do that anymore. I would love a place that would let me drink all night for $5.
But 65 cents.
That is such a fucking liability.
And then you're such a kid. You're ordering screwdrivers because that's all you know. And by the way, the drinking age is 19.
Is that when it's still state to state?
Yeah. So theirs was 19. Hey, I'm 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1982. I'm 19. I turned 19. So it's a fantasy.
Anyone doing math, you just figured out how old Joe was.
Yeah. And then so I can drink. It's 65 cents for a mixed drink. It's a paradise. A pizza is like, a giant pizza. Guess what? It's still the same price they are today. Because back then pizzas were very expensive. only recently.
Loses 65 cents.
Only recently pizzas became cheap. When I was a kid growing up, pizzas were very expensive. Because
It's still expensive, dude. Certain places.
Well, you go to Caesars, you're going to get a $5 pizza.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a hot and ready.
You're going to get, you know what? You get in a time machine.
By the way, we're looking for sponsors, hot and ready.
Hot and ready.
Let's get it going, Little Caesars. Pizza.
Or get a time machine, go back to Tucson in 1982, you get a pizza for $5.
Which was astronomical.
No, it was cheap then too. But so back then we were going to these places. So stop showing up for these glorious Phoenix trips. Nils, yeah. So he stopped showing up. And it was really weird when someone doesn't show up for a tour.
Yeah. It was like the one thing you're like, we don't
show up for rehearsal.
Yeah. We don't require a lot here at the Vandals, but maybe showing up for the gigs would be one of those things.
And like I said, but there's no cell phones back then. You're calling everywhere, you can't find him. But we kind of all know what it was. He was with his girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And so, after a while we thought, I think he's trying to tell us something. So we were getting substitute guys. We would get Dan Root he was in the Adolescents now. And we get Robbie Allen, who was a legend in the Long Beach world. Usually sing backups with Red Hot Chili Peppers. And he was in a band called Thermidor, like a major label band. This guy. Tender Fury with Jack Grisham.
Oh, okay.
This guy, Robbie Allen. So we would get him, get Dan Root. We were scrambling for guitar players, like last minute, to play these shows.
I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah, it was nuts. So we thought that Jan's trying to tell us something. He doesn't want to be in the band anymore. After a lot of soul searching, we get Warren to play at the same time because this guy's not showing up. So we get Warren. How do we find Warren? A Meadowlark Country Club right near here.
I know exactly where that is, yeah.
And they used to have punk shows there all the time. This is like the dark ages of the Vandals when we're like playing 21 and over bars up and down Warner Avenue.
They had like Liquid Lounge on there and stuff.
We had
like
what we have?
What'd you guys have
the Night Moves and Spats, and which is like off of Algonquin.
Oh yeah.
And the
Duke
of Huntington.
Duke of Huntington.
Yeah. So this is 21 and over places. This is dark times.
Yeah, no. I don't remember them by those names, but I can tell you that all those places had switched names by the time I was coming around.
You're too young for this.
Yeah.
So we see Warren playing with a band called Doggy Style. He was in a couple bands, Doggy Style and Double Freak. And he was in a band called Don't Know.
Were both these bands named by him?
No, he's a guitar player for hire.
Okay.
So we see him with one of these bands, and he's wearing a freaking dinosaur suit, and he's playing a wireless guitar. I've never seen a wireless guitar.
That is pretty.
At this point, I've never seen one. This man's on a wireless guitar at the Meadowlark Country Club,
right?
Jumping on people's cocktail tables while they're trying to have drinks, and he's jumping on them and playing guitar leads in a dinosaur suit.
This is the golf course here.
It's a golf course. I mean, it's a punk show. But it's a 21 and over punk show, and people are like it's the 80s. They're wearing their 80s hairdos, and they're trying to have a date, and he's on their table in a dinosaur suit playing a guitar lead in their friggin' face. And I go, okay, we have to get this guy in our band. I don't care. Let's get him. We already have a guitar player. We'll have two guitar players. So for a brief period, we had two guitar players. We thought Nils didn't want to be in the band.
Yeah.
We honestly thought he didn't want to be in the band. But he wanted us to do something about it because he had this relationship issue, and so he didn't want to be. So we're just like, okay, it's over. And then he got kind of mad, and it got kind of ugly.
So he got mad. So
yeah, he got kind of mad. He didn't. He did want to be.
He did want to be in the band.
Why wouldn't you want to be in a band that you don't have to show up to when you don't?
I mean, that sounds like a great gig to me.
So it got ugly, ironed itself out. And then we had one tour lined up in Europe that Warren couldn't do because he had some other band. It was just still like working out things with his other band. So we did one tour in between at this time with a guy named Greg Davis, who was in a band called Blood on the Saddle, which is like a cowpunk band, a legendary LA cowpunk band. We went to Europe. We went to Europe for 4 months with this guy. And
4 months in Europe?
Yeah. In those days, you go to Europe, you think it's the only time you're ever going to be in Europe. You really do.
4 months in Europe.
Let me
That's
backtrack a little bit. We played 2
man.
weeks. We did 2 weeks of shows getting out to New York before so it's really only 3.5 months in Europe.
But still, I mean, that's a long time.
You're playing every single bold city on a map, like any city written in bold.
That is a long time, man.
Yeah, and half of that's in Germany, so you're like,
Yeah. No, I mean, especially, and this is before cell phones at this time as well?
Yeah, no cell phones.
No cell phones, anything like that. Yeah. I mean, the first time I was in Europe, I remember it was crazy to have one of those prepaid cards, and I was scratching it off.
Oh, yeah.
Doing that whole
before that
thing.
I remember one time, I got to make a call to the States because I have to warn Bad Religion about this tour company because they were freaking Nazis.
Literally?
Yeah, literal Nazis. And I'm like, this is so bad. I mean, I woke up every morning like, hey, Mexican Catholic, why don't you wake up and go to sound check, And I'm like, and I go, wait till Bad Religion is full of Jews. Yeah. I got to warn them.
Yeah. I got to let people know.
Yeah. So you couldn't,
It's like I got my one phone call.
Let me tweet that this company is full of Nazis. No, you had to I'm just trying to. How am I going to figure out this stupid European phone so I can call Brett Gerwitz and tell him these guys are freaking Nazis?
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we did that without Warren, and then we got back, and then was Warren all. Then from then on, it was just Warren, and now it's Warren, and then we get Josh. And it's Warren, Josh, Dave, and Joe from 1989 until 2019. That's 30 years of this.
That's incredible.
Yeah, these are,
Well, it's incredible when you think of the fact that there was so much change up to that point. You know what I mean?
Well, we thought it was going to be over so many times, and then we're like, all right, well, maybe, you know what? With this kid is going to go into the studio with the guy from Devo. We're going to make a record. Let's just do it. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, I'm going to law school anyway, so we're not going to do anything. But the record came out so good to us, Fear of a Punk Planet, because of the
great record.
No one cared about whether it was going to be good or not. And it was just great. And so we loved it. And so we thought, let's tour it a little bit. And then I'm in law school. I had to take a couple weeks off of law school. I had people taking notes from me. And then somehow it worked out. We had a tour with the Buzzcocks.
The Buzzcocks, okay.
Yeah, because we got an agent at that point. There was an agent named Andy Summers who was still the agent for Pennywise today. Mm-hmm. And he, I don't know how I pulled this off, but I go, okay, I got a friggin' agent, finally.
Now you're not having to do it all yourself.
Yeah, and I don't even... Why now we have an agent? So we got this agent, Andy Summers, so cool of him to take us on, because he heard the record. Mm-hmm. He goes, this is a good record. So he goes, I got you a Buzzcocks tour. So we did the Buzzcocks tour, and we got kicked off the Buzzcocks tour.
How'd you get kicked off the Buzzcocks tour?
Long story short, these stories are just getting too long.
No, it's okay. That's why I put it in Pro Tools later.
Okay. Here's the story of us. So I'm in law school.
Also, we could two-part this.
Okay, good.
I could do whatever I want
all right.
with this later.
Okay.
You already signed it. I could do whatever I want with it later.
So I can't believe it. Buzzcocks, one of my favorite bands of all time ever in the world ever to this day. I go, wow, this is so awesome. Maybe they're a little past their prime, So I'm like, and the whole scene is kind of like, it's not so great in any form, and nothing's going that great anywhere. This is before Green Day and The Offspring and Rancid and even NoFX at this point. NoFX is a terrible band at this point. Mm-hmm. They're good, but I don't know yet.
Yeah, no one
because
knows
they were terrible. Because I know them, I can tell you plenty of NoFX stories. Terrible, terrible, terrible band. They'll admit this themselves.
Yeah.
But then they got great. But at this point, there's nothing really going on, so we make a record we don't care, but all of a sudden the record turns out great. So we get this tour with the Buzzcocks. We go up, it's just a West Coast tour up to Canada and back, and make 2 shows at the big money is the 2 shows at the Palace Theater, now the Avalon in Hollywood, with the Buzzcocks. So we're all excited about it. We get there, and as soon as we get there, it's the same thing. every time we played with any of our idols, whether it was the Damned or the Ramones, were treated like crap. And then you
That's a shame.
And you just like so bummed, and you're like, wow, if Dave Vanian and Joey Ramone knew what they were doing to us, he would save us. You know, it's like, it's not the reality.
Yeah.
So first they start telling us you have too many merchandise items.
Okay.
And so you got to cut it down to one. But this is we're only making $250 a show. So we've got, how do you get from one show to the next show?
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a threat.
So we needed that merch money, and then they do this to us, and they're just kind of like everything. At one, then they smuggled their merchandise into Canada, and they got caught. And then we didn't get caught.
Yeah, because
we declared our merchandise. We declared it.
Yeah,
we went to the thing. Yeah. We declared it. So.
Well, you always remember. I always remember the stories of back in the day. Certain people try it, certain people don't. You try it at different times.
We knew enough to declare it, so we declared it, and then everything was fine. We thought, and then we got to the place in Vancouver where the show was, and their tour manager comes up to me and says, "You owe us $80." And I'm like, "What?" Huh? You know, we can't even sell all our merchandise and all that stuff. Everything's torture. And I'm like, $80 for what? Because we were fined on the way in here $160 because of our merchandise, so you need to pay half of that.
That's some logic right there.
And I'm just like, you know what, dude?
Right.
You are off your friggin' rocker, and we're not paying it. You know, big fight.
Yeah.
And then I go, well, he goes, okay, you're off the tour because we don't pay extortion.
Yeah.
And then we're off the tour. After that show, we were kicked off the tour. So we go to the next tour, which is in Victoria Island, I think. We go to the next tour to try to get some help from the Buzzcocks. We can talk to Pete Shelley will save us.
Yeah.
Dingle, whatever his name, the bass player, he'll save us. So we go there, and we're not allowed in, but we find him on the street and we ask him, hey, we got kicked off the tour for this thing. And they go, well, that's not what we were told. No. You weren't kicked off the tour for not paying that money. We don't even know about the money. You're kicked off the tour because Warren, they don't know his name, your guitar player, backstage, masturbated into a champagne bottle backstage, and there were children back there.
There were children back there. Why would... That is a legendary story.
So, number one...
Which part of that is
Pete
true?
Shelley. There was only one 12-year-old back there. And he was gone by the time the incident took place.
Yeah, he was out of there.
And the incident was evidently so entertaining. Your drummer, who was the drummer of the Smiths, also, he was so stoked when Warren did this trick with the champagne bottle that he gave him $5. He's just like, he didn't know what to do. He was so stoked at this trick. He gave him $5. And he didn't really masturbate. He just did some trick.
Well, describe the trick then.
It was a trick with $1 and a champagne bottle, and it's all weird stuff. And it used to be like, this is the old days when everyone's crazy backstage. He had some weird trick, and it would just like kind of drive every woman out of the backstage.
You'd want to finish that one. They would drive every woman crazy, but no. Drove every woman out of the backstage. This was
his style. His style was drive every woman out of the backstage, except for one, who came back. Can I see that again? It's a done deal.
Yeah.
See how that works?
Yeah. No. Yeah. He was fishing.
Yeah.
He was fishing in the right direction.
Anyway, Mike, the drummer, he was so stoked he gave him $5, and then so we're like, no. Your drummer gave him $5 for that.
Yeah.
And they're like, ah. So we are kicked off. We have to drive. It's Thanksgiving. They kicked us off on Thanksgiving. We couldn't get a hold of the agents. Everyone's gone. So we drive home. But on the way back, we stop at the theater where we're playing in Seattle with the Buzzcocks, and we go, let's sell merchandise in the line out front. So we set up a table, and we sold merchandise on the street out in front and told everyone the story that walked in. So they're all wearing Vandals hats. Now we have all this merchandise that we weren't allowed to sell before. We can sell all of it.
Yeah, because you're telling yeah.
And then we had already changed the sign on the marquee. It said the Buzzcocks, and we changed it to the Wuzzcocks.
All right, then. So
And
now
that you can look at on YouTube. There's a video of us changing the sign to the West
okay.
Coast.
Well, we definitely got to check that out.
Right, yeah.
All
Anyway.
right. So now
That's Warren.
That's Warren. That's Warren.
Yeah, Warren's in the band, and yeah, I mean the rest of it is just like you just keep playing shows until the Warped Tour starts, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, you quit your job, and the Offspring come, and the Green Day comes, and
Oh, it was huge.
and then
Everything
you
blew up.
quit your job and you just chase it,
Yeah.
and you have a great time.
Yeah, before we get into the Warped Tour and all that stuff, though, I wanted to talk about. Got 30 years of that lineup. Before that, you've been the Vandals forever. How long have you had this next wine that we're trying, the Vandals Vineyard wine?
Our own wine.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I wish I could use this podcast to sell more of that wine, but we just made 64 cases, and it all went in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to try this because I texted you earlier and I was like, man, I tried to go buy some and it was obviously already sold out and it couldn't happen. So I was like, hey, I know a guy. And that's really the only reason why I had you on here. I wanted to try this wine, Joe.
Well, it's really the only way.
So let's get this poured out.
All right.
Tell me.
It's basically we tried a bunch of different wines, and I want to make some wines. I want to start with a Cabernet because Cabernet is like the most plentiful grape in the world or whatever. It's I figure we have a better chance, and then I've always enjoyed the California Cabernets, and I thought I've tasted enough of them where I could pick out a good one. So we tasted a bunch, and when you do something like this, all you're doing is tasting other people's grapes, and they're saying, okay, I find one, give me 64 cases of that, and put this label on it.
Yeah.
Not different than if you were getting married and you would want to have a bottle at every table with Johnny and Lacey. Thank you for coming. The same thing.
Yeah,
so it's not a big deal, but we did our best. The only problem is after you pick it out, it's so long until you actually get it that you have no idea if it's the same one.
It changed or anything like
You
that.
don't have
Yeah.
any idea.
Yeah.
So the feedback we've got on it are it's good enough, and in 2 years it'll be better.
Well, let's get down on it. I like it.
So good enough?
It's good enough.
That's why I call it. Is it good?
It's good enough.
It's good enough.
It is good enough.
Because it's very hard to make. I mean, very hard to choose and very hard to get it.
Yeah.
Like
I haven't gone through that process. I mean, it's wine, man.
It's wine, right?
It tastes good. It's not. There's nothing offensive about it.
Right. We're not. I think that's what we can hope for because you're really. Why is someone selling you this wine, this grapes and stuff? They're not selling it to you because it's the most award-winning, thing in the world.
No, they're not gonna give that away.
Yeah, they're selling it to you. Well, this is pretty good. We could sell it, and they might come back for more.
There's nothing offensive
And
about it.
We would go back to the same vineyard. It's in Buellton. It's in Santa Barbara County.
Okay,
I would go back there.
Where you guys are. Okay.
If we're going to do it again, I would go back to the same people because I think they.
I like the Santa Barbara wineries out there. Really laid back. The more I'm tasting, I think it's a great
It's getting better to me too.
every dayer kind of I don't know. It's light. It does the trick. I'm into it.
Now that we're into the red wines, we can get into
The red vines.
the red vines and the hot tamales that I brought.
Hot tamales. Is that the pairing that we need to do with this?
it's the pairing. Hot tamales.
Let me get a
and
little
red
hot tamale then. As we're jumping around on things real quick, I want to get back to a couple of things. Most people will probably know you as Joe Escalante, the bass player for the Vandals. We already know that you were the drummer first. We've gone through a few things. But one of the things that I was curious about is when you started Kung Fu Records.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some stuff with Nitro Records as well that you guys had involvement with. You signed to Nitro, right?
Yes.
Fill me in on that side of your business savvy.
I think I'm working at CBS, and we had put Fear of a Punk Planet out on Triple X Records, which was a record that had some. They're famous for Jane's Addiction.
Okay.
They had some Adolescents and stuff like that. And we had recorded the Fear of a Punk Planet was paid for by Enigma Records, which is the Motley Crue record label of the late 80s, mid 80s, whatever. And then during the recording of Fear of a Punk Planet, I think it was done recording and the label was going out of business.
Okay.
it's going out of business, and we're trying to finish it and get everything done, and they say we have no more money to record records. We have to wait until quarter number 3 or whatever, quarter number 1 of first Q1, some corporate garbage language they're telling me.
Okay.
And I go, wow, it sucks, because you record this record, you want it to come out. So they tell us they can't release the record. I think it's done. They can't release it because they have no money. And then all of a sudden we find out they poured all their money into, they released another record from some band called the Zeros. And they were like purple-haired, glam sensation.
Okay.
They play a show at the Whiskey and they paint the whiskey purple.
Okay.
And we're like...
And there's Zeros, the Purple Zeros.
Yeah, Purple Zeros. So they're called the Zeros, but there was an old punk band called the Zeros. They're not to be confused with that. This is the flash-in-the-pan novelty Zeros.
Okay.
And they're putting their money into a flash-in-the-pan novelty thing, and they're not finishing our record. So we're pissed.
Yeah, naturally.
And we're like... Not only did they tell us they have no money, they put a bunch of money into this thing, which offended us.
Yeah.
So we, lick our wounds. And all of a sudden I get a phone call from someone that says, hey, I got a bunch of tapes sitting around here, say the Vandals on them. You got to come and pick them up because, they can't just sit around here forever. I go, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
And I go pick up the 2-inch reels from the record that these guys wouldn't put out.
Brilliant.
And I gave them to Triple X. And I said, you put them out? You fight with these guys? And then they, we made a deal. And they put it out, fought with those guys. It got a little bit ugly. And we put that record out. I learned a little bit about the music industry. I don't want to release a record. And, I don't want to start a record label. I never did. And then at that point, I'm like, wow, I kind of see how it works. And I'm kind of learning, maybe I should. Fat Mike is now, NoFX is now huge. Mm-hmm. Fat Mike is my old friend from summer camp. He'll tell you the story. I played his first punk rock records for. He learned about punk rock from me at summer camp.
That's incredible.
And he was from Beverly Hills High School. I'm from Orange County. We didn't know each other other than being at camp.
And the camp, okay.
And then he was the only guy that would listen to my records with interest. Other people thought I was a deviant there. I'd gone to that camp since I was 11.
What camp is this? I'm sorry.
It's called Mountain Meadow Ranch.
Okay.
And it's
what was the camp for?
For children about to be molested.
I think that's camp everywhere.
That's okay. That's not true. That's a Anthony Jeselnik joke. But you set me up for it so well. I felt like for a second I was Anthony Jeselnik.
You went into character there. That was pretty good.
Now it's a rich kid camp that I ended up at because my mom felt sorry for me because I wanted to be a basketball star. And I was going to basketball camps, and she finally realized I'm never going to grow. So she said, you want to go to the rich kid camp that your sister's rich boyfriend's family goes to? Well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard all about that camp. I can make a lot of contacts. So I was 11, I started going to this camp. And then when I'm 16, I'm working there as a ranch hand. Because my
ranch hand.
Yeah, because my mom can't afford to just keep sending me as a camper, so I end up working there, and building fences, doing hay, trenches, post holes, retaining walls.
All good
pigs.
All good things to know though.
Yeah,
all good things to know.
Yeah, so that's where I meet Fat Mike, and but that comes later. Like he's just like comes up to me, and goes, "Hey, it's me, Mike Burkett from camp."
And that's the spot on voice.
It's exactly how he sounded. And I was with him 2 days ago, and he still sounds the same way.
That's fantastic.
Still sounds the same way.
All right, so before we got into the summer camp in the Militations, we were still talking about Nitro and Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah. Fat Mike is the one trying to tell me I should start a label.
He's the one that's telling you. Was this before he did Fat Records? Or
No,
was
he's
it
got
after?
Fat Records. He's making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And he's like, start
Off
a
of
freaking
great
label,
bands
guy.
like Lad
Start a
Wagon.
label. And he tells me this, start a label. I used to give him advice. Now he's giving me advice.
Yeah.
Start a label. Sign only bands with good songs. Don't sign any bands that you think you will make money on. Only sign bands with good songs. So if you listen to anything on Kung Fu Records, Everything, they're all good songs. Some of it didn't make money. A lot of it did. But that's all good songs. So that was really good advice.
And that's,
from Fat Mike, and good advice to any label.
Absolutely.
Anywhere. So I'm at CBS. Great, 4 years. I'm there like sooner in my career than I'm supposed to be, because you're supposed to have this big legal career and then you can go to the network. And through probably because I'm in this punk rock band and I met different people, and I wrote a big law review article on the ASCAP BMI conflict with the networks.
Okay.
It started in like the 30s. So I wrote this article. No one ever read it, but I showed it to the people at CBS, and they go, "Okay, you can have an internship." And then they hired me in the business affairs department, which is not even you don't have to be a lawyer to be in that department. You're just negotiating deals.
Okay.
And so I'm in there 4 years. One of my biggest jobs there is Chuck Norris.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay. Anyway, okay, we're going to get there later.
It's almost as if you're reading my whiteboard.
I know. So, I don't know. When you asked about starting Kung Fu Records, I started it because they gave me a different job at, or Les Moonves, who's very famous right now. Les Moonves he assigned me a different task at CBS, from producing shows in-house to licensing shows from other studios. When I was producing shows in-house, I was making all the deals for all the writers, all the actors, all the directors, casting directors, supervising the spending that went on in these shows. And then Les Moonves came in and said, "You're more experienced than these other people. You should be making deals with outside suppliers, like Warner Brothers and CBS and Disney." And that's because he came from Warner Brothers. He thought that was more important. So my job changed overnight, and it was boring. Basically, I started a record label to fill the time. And Fat Mike is telling me I should start a record label.
Okay, so that's right.
Yeah, so I started a record label.
So the reason why I want to ask about the Kung Fu record stuff too is I remember getting a lot of around here. I got a lot of the Kung Fu record compilations.
Yeah, that's it.
And I love those compilations.
You make those compilations.
I found several bands from there.
Fat, Epitaph, just the model that I'm following.
The same, yeah. Epitaph and Fat.
I'm just trying to be number 3.
You mentioned several times in the last questionnaire part that you worked for CBS, and that's what I wanted to get into. This is the part where, as I mentioned when we were hanging out for Brooks's birthday, some stuff that I didn't know about you. There's a lot of the stories that we just got into that I wasn't privy to before, but I knew you as Joe Escalante of the Vandals and Kung Fu Records. What I didn't know you as is the
like this
TV.
This guy was a network executive. Wow,
yeah.
Where does that fit in?
Yeah, that's I was blown away at that point, and so I did a little bit of research, but I just really want to ask you a few questions about this. So, like, you're coming out of law school and you get into CBS. Finish the story for me there.
And when I got to law school, I was there. I kind of just people who go to law school are, I think, people who are kind of like overachievers who are kind of lost and don't know what to do in their life. There's a couple levels. Lower than that, if you're like not really an overachiever but an achiever,
okay,
you end up teaching. Get a teaching credential and teach. You're an achiever, but if you're a little bit of an overachiever, you go to law school. But both of these levels don't know what the hell they're doing, and they don't know what the job is. They just think it's a job. And you go to law school, and then when you're there, you realize, like, this job is stupid. It sucks. I'm never going to do it. So I kind of kept that to myself. And I thought, well, at least I could use this job to get into a good career, which I thought was television for me, because I love television more than anything. Way more than music. So
yeah. This was a passion before anything else.
Oh yeah. So for sure, television. I lucked into music, but television is what I really liked.
And this concludes part 2 of my conversation with Joe. And on Friday, I will drop the 3rd and final episode of this trilogy. So make sure to hit the subscribe button so that the episode will automatically update in your library. And while you're at it, leave a comment, give us a review. We'd love to hear from you. So till next time, cheers.